You are listening to KC Sports Network, the #1 podcast network for today's Kansas City sports fans. With former players from your favorite teams, informed perspectives, and former insiders, this is the place for you. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts or on our YouTube channel, all over social media, or our morning newsletter, KCSN Daily, dedicated to your Kansas City Chiefs. KC Sports Network is proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible.
Jalen Watson.
Yes.
Welcome to the KCSN Live Postgame Show. I'm BJ Kissel. That's Ken Swanson. We are at the Kingdom Bar and Grille in Overland Park, Kansas. We appreciate all of you for tuning in to this postgame show as the Chiefs pull it out 27-24 over the LA Chargers. Kent, we've got a lot to get to in this one. We appreciate you if you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook at 101 The Fox. We appreciate 101 The Fox for being our partners here for the postgame show. For not feeling great about the way a lot of things went down in that game, Chiefs did enough.
They toughed it out. That was just a gutsy win by this football team.
Yep.
A lot of fight. You know, it wasn't the prettiest or cleanest game by any stretch of the word. Credit the Chargers for that. I think the Chargers played well. They probably think that they should have won this football game. If I'm thinking, but look. The Chiefs pulled it out. In the end, it was big time.
All right, we said before, if you were watching our second screen, that we had a special guest who's going to come on. He's only got a couple of minutes for us. But right now, we're going to bring on James Palmer from NFL Network, who is at Arrowhead on the sideline. Hey! Dude.
I forgot my headphones, so I'm shouting. There. Hey!
Hey! Clyde! What's going on, man?
I'll tell you guys, so I had a chance to talk to Jalen Watson, 99.5, interception return for a touchdown. I said, you sprinted down the street when you got drafted, 243rd overall. Which is sprint faster? Drafted? Or on the 9.5-yard interception return? He said it was when he got drafted. So apparently he wasn't really fast in game, which is a bit interesting for me. But guys, I think it's really solid defensive performance. That's what they were able to go make a play. That was a monster aspect of this game for me because I was looking for Justin Herbert to go out there and it really made it great. And I think it's a big statement defensively for how much faster this team got on the defensive side of the ball.
We're getting bits and pieces, James, of what you're saying, but it was awesome to see Clyde come by. I've got to know, I want you to ask Coach Reed in the postgame presser about not only the Jalen Watson play, but the fact that it seemed like the Chargers were going tempo. They tried to go no huddle on that play. Willie Gay comes on the blitz. The communication to get that blitz call for Willie Gay in that moment ended up being the play of the game. That whole communication process and what happened behind the scenes for that play to happen, it's got to be one of the stories of that next level of Jalen Watson being able to make that play.
Oh, big time. And also, Gerald Everett.
Yep.
Yeah.
Play in that instance at all, and to take advantage of that, to jump it. He told me, hey, the big study all the way back, he said, and all the way back in the spring, about going over the first two games. We had them going over the Cardinals and going over the Chargers all the way back in OTAs. We knew that the Chargers switch receivers down there. That they're going to want to run these swaps. And we were ready for it.
That's wow. That's interesting. So they scouted that well and they were ready for it. That's insane. You got something?
Just atmosphere. Just tell us what it was like from the broadcast. We're at the bar out here in Overland Park. Seemed like it was loud. Always loud at Arrowhead Stadium, but can you give us a little bit of a feel with the 50th anniversary, all the stuff going on? What was the atmosphere like?
It was a playoff atmosphere. I covered all the playoffs, right? And so what I'm going to say is that line, when I get here super early of cars for these playoff games, the line today was longer at the gate to get into tailgating at about 10:30 this morning. This place is rocking. two teams in this division. And both.
All right, James, we're going to let you go. We know you got to get to the locker room and talk to the guys about this performance, man. We appreciate it. All right, sounds good. We appreciate it. We appreciate Clyde for stopping by and saying hello during that as well. James, thank you, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the rest of this one. Kent, let's get into the headlines before we bring on Maddie Lane and Craig Stout here in a little bit. But, man, you mentioned it, gutsy performance. There's a whole gutsy performance side of it with Justin Herbert that we can get to later in this show. There's going to be a lot of takes coming out of that one for the decision to leave him in the game with what he was dealing with and some of the throws that he made. Kind of validated some of that. We'll see if it's a lingering thing for him going forward. But outside of the Jalen Watson, we saw Clyde Edwards-Helaire come by and wave on the postgame. This was a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game to me. Offensively, we know that Justin Watson made the big play on the touchdown catch. Travis Kelce made his plays when they went to him. They really needed somebody, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire seemed to step up. Him running through the tackle of Derwin James when they were down 10, when they were down 2 possessions, really seemed to be the spark. I mentioned it on our second screen watch party. That seemed to be the difference.
So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, one of the things that really endeared him to us when we were doing our scouting and stuff was the pass game ability, right? And his pass catching skills have kind of been shown the last 2 games. Today, 4 catches, 44 yards. Yep. That angle route, that one of the best route. He was the best angle runner in that class and one of the best angle runners I had seen since Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. And he finally hit one of those in a big play, that contact balance where Derwin James, Derwin James didn't, wasn't able to bring him down. Like, the passing game was massive in this. And, he iced that play out. He iced that run out, the 52-yard run to close out the game too. So it started early with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's a lot of optimism. I thought that he was going to have a really big game. Kind of in the middle of the game, it kind of slowed down for him, but then passing game got involved. And then icing the game with that big 52-yard run. That might be the longest run of his career. Yeah, and then on the other side, we're sticking with the headlines. Again, Maddie and Craig are going to break down things and come join us here in just a few minutes. But on the defensive side of the ball, when they needed to step up and make a play, and we sound like we were saying that the whole night, defense overall stepped up when they needed to. And some of the middle of the game when it wasn't going well, Chris Jones stepped up and made the plays when they absolutely needed to, especially with the big one that almost ended up in the safety. But you got to give Chris Jones a lot of credit for what he was able to do in this game. When they needed him to step up and make a play, he did. Yeah, and it wasn't just like the splashy stats either. I think he just was really solid across the board. I think about one of the plays early in the game where, the Chargers are trying to throw a screen, and Chris Jones gets up and challenges and forces Justin Herbert to hold the ball just a second quicker, gives Willie Gay a little bit more time to close on the screen. Just little things throughout the day, disrupting, it wasn't just the sack production. I think he was disruptive all day. It was great. Yeah. All right, we are going to be Tucker's going to jump in here with any updates from the press conferences, any injury updates. I know they're with Mike Dana, the calf. That'll be an interesting one to see if that's followed up on, if it is a calf or an Achilles. Because you never like to see a player ruled out with a calf injury. But before we bring on Matt and Craig, I know Tucker has got a note for us from our friends at DraftKings.
Absolutely. Not as good of a day today as it was on Sunday, but guess what, Kansas? The wait is over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is officially live in the state of Kansas. That's right. If you've been listening to us, you know that it's already been live in the state of Kansas. And guess what? That means you can bet legally on same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, and more anytime and anywhere across the Sunflower State. To celebrate, DraftKings is giving new Kansas customers a can't-miss offer. That's just bet $5 on anything and get $200 in free bets instantly. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code KCSN to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet on anything. That's code KCSN only at DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Must be 21 years or older. Physically present in Kansas. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus issued as free bets. 1 early win token issued at opt-in. Moneyline bets only. Deposit and wagering restrictions apply. Eligibility at DraftKings.com/Kansas on behalf of Boot Hill Resort and Casino.
Woo! Good job, Tuck.
Good job, Tuck. All right, right now let's bring on both Matt Lane and Craig Stout, the other 2/3 of the KC Laboratory that records twice a week.
Craig, you're beside yourself, buddy. And I think you should.
Why wouldn't I be? I mean, this defense is so good. This defense stepped up when Patrick Mahomes had one of his worst games yet again. Now, all of a sudden, the defense steps up and are large part the reason why the Chiefs turned around and won this game. It was awesome. I'm ecstatic.
I'm glad you're going straight to the defensive side of the ball, Craig, because we need to talk about them. Maddie, how impressed were you with the second half adjustments for the defense here?
I love how giddy Craig is that Mahomes had one of his worst games ever, and he just gets to flaunt that out there about it being the greatest watching experience. But no, the turnaround, the second half defense was fantastic. I don't think the first half defense was very good at all. We talked about it at halftime. So I think their ability to kind of flip that on its head, the defensive line starting to show out. I mean, obviously that was the decider of this game, was the Chiefs defense kind of taking over there in the second half.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about it, and Brandon Staley played ultra conservative with some decisions, and I do, Maddie, thinking more about it, I think I agree with you a little bit more with what you were saying about, hey, look, maybe Brandon Staley bailed him out a little bit, because you're right, that defense probably, I like the Chargers offense in those 4th and 1 situations, I think, with what they did in the first half, but second half response was just outstanding. And I think it starts up front. I think it definitely starts with what you saw up front. I think the pass rush started to get home a little bit. I think they started tightening things up a little bit. We were talking a little bit in the DMs. Looked like they were playing some static coverage, some spot drop coverage early in the game, especially on early downs. And they were just getting gashed on first down. I mean, I think at one point we were looking at 8-9 yards per play on first down and really struggling to put themselves in advantageous situations, and a little bit of heat, tighten things a little bit up. It seemed like they were able to put themselves in some advantageous positions later in the downs, Craig.
Yeah, the early down performance was not great. About 5 yards of play on first down, 7 yards of play on second down. That's brutal. And when they did seem to get a little bit ahead of the sticks on first down, they turn around and give it all back on second down. So a lot of third and shorts, but the defensive line did a pretty good job today. Chris Jones decided that he was going to take over this game. Just before halftime, all of a sudden just is making play after play, swats a couple of balls, gets a couple of sacks, now moves him into 5th all-time in Chiefs history in sacks. Chris Jones goes there and then makes an awesome run stuff there at the end of the game, shedding an offensive lineman and just swallowing up the running back. He was huge, but the rest of the defensive line played pretty well as well. George Karlaftis was good. Mike Dana was good. We saw good stuff out of Carlos Dunlap. There was a lot of positives on the defensive line for the second week in a row.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Matt, did you have something you wanted to add there? Because I did have a follow-up question if you didn't have something.
Yeah. So I think the defensive turnaround was fantastic. I think you saw a lot of guys getting into it. I think the Chiefs moving Chris Jones away from Zion Johnson frequently and putting on Matt Filer was the move of the game. Zion Johnson, for a rookie guard, was giving Chris Jones the business in the first half. Now, it's not, I'm not saying Chris Jones can't beat him, but Zion was giving him the business. They moved him over to Matt Filer, and you go back and look, I'd say 9 out of 10 plays that you see from Chris Jones were coming against Matt Filer. I think another big thing here that we have to mention, the injuries to the Chargers offensive line did stack up. When you lose Corey Linsley, a guy that is helping call your protections, a guy that is up at the center, he's helping Justin Herbert with these protection calls. All of a sudden, these mugging A-gap looks, these stunts, all these extra games Steve Spagnuolo wants to do get a lot more difficult with a backup center. You then lose your starting right tackle, who maybe isn't great, but he still had earned that starting job. So I do think the injuries of the Chargers offensive line did play a role here, but Chris Jones, Karlaftis, Mike Dana, Frank Clark, all these guys started stepping up in the second half.
Now, the Linsley one is huge. I mean, we saw it show up right there at the very end of the game. The Chiefs are running some of those interior stunts, and all of a sudden you've got free rushers hitting Justin Herbert, and that was kind of the story of the end of the game there. Justin Herbert going down with a serious, stomach, chest, rib injury. It's unclear what it is. Gutsy performance by him. My God, he made some incredible throws after that, but clearly limited, and the Chiefs hitting him a couple of times, getting free rushers, working those stunts on the interior, taking advantage of some backup players. We don't always see that from the Chiefs defense or the Chiefs offense, targeting players that come in as backups. It was good to see, and I don't know if that's a Joe Cullen thing or a Steve Spagnuolo thing, but it was really good to see the focus on, hey, we got to attack that guy. We got to take advantage of it right here and now, and it obviously worked out in their favor.
I think the absence of Keenan Allen probably was felt a little bit too, especially in the second half. Some a little bit of stability in the middle of the field might have been something valuable there for the Chargers. But hey, I'm not apologizing. I'll take the win any chance I get. Let's move over to the offensive side of the ball. It was very up and down. Mostly, I mean, it was a slog this week. Honestly, it was very, very difficult. And obviously the Chiefs were able to respond and they were able to. They were able to get enough points to close this game out. But, I mean, the offense only scored 20 points. I mean, 7 of those came from Jalen Watson. What do you think about this offensive performance, Matthew?
I think it was pretty bad. I just point blank. I think they played bad football across the board. The offensive line did not look good. They patched it together in the second half, but you saw a lot more tight ends sitting in tight. You saw Juju Smith-Schuster sitting in tight, running backs with delayed releases. They had to go out of their way. And I know for Andy Reid and his offensive scheme, that does mess up what he wants to do when they have to add these extra guys in protection. Like, they had to change stuff to get this offensive line to perform at a level to where they thought they could put an adequate, pass play out there. And then Patrick Mahomes wasn't great in this game. There's some highlight throws. There's some bad ones. You can point out where he's under pressure and maybe that played a role in his bad play, but there was some throws that were just questionable decisions and off target. So, I mean, overall offensively, I think everything outside of the run game, you want to crumple this game up way and just toss it out. You don't want to look at this passing attack. You don't want to look at this pass protection scheme. Just keep the run plays and just burn everything else because it really was kind of that bad from the get-go.
Yeah, and there were elements from even the Chiefs start. Joe Tooney got handed a couple of times. Creed Humphrey missed a free rusher on the interior there. Trey Smith missed some plays as well, and you had Travis Kelce struggling to hold Joey Bosa long enough on the edge on one of the early run plays, so that wasn't good. Andy wasn't good with some of the play calls early in the game. That third down sweep to the short side of the field to McCole Harbin, it was dead on arrival. It was
embarrassing.
You shouldn't have seen me. I wasn't in a good place there.
Grant Swanson came out immediately.
Yeah.
This is embarrassing.
It was not good.
But yeah, all that being said, Clyde was awesome. Clyde was excellent. Yeah. He performed ridiculously well. Patrick stepped up in a couple of moments and made a couple of really good plays. Justin Watson shows up, catches a post over J.C. Jackson, torches him on there. There were moments where things were good, but I'm with Maddie. You can largely crumple this up. Maybe chalk it up to the fact that you're worried so much about Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, and rightfully so. They were in the backfield all game long, that maybe you tried to make some adjustments and it just didn't work, and then everything just kind of got rattled for long portions of the game.
And
I'll go.
And just for the Chargers, looking at it from their perspective, I don't know if this could be a more difficult way to lose this football game, that you felt like you had everything you needed to eke this one out. And they're not going to be happy with the way that they played, but they didn't make a ton of mistakes. Some of the play calling in the first half for them was pretty abysmal too, where I felt like really could have made it it didn't feel as close as the score actually dictated in the Chargers' favor earlier in that game, which I felt was due in large part to some of the play calling early in that game. But that's a long flight home for the Chargers, who needed this game, put a lot in this game for the moves like J.C. Jackson and the Khalil Mack, some of the big moves that they made, set up Brendan Staley being conservative early in this game. Now he's going to go back and question if he should have been that conservative and go back to the reasons why he was conservative, because he's gone a little bit too far. I think he overcorrected a little bit too much. I know you guys mentioned that, but
well, I mean,
it's going to be tough for them.
I mean, they shut the Chargers down for, I mean, they only really surrendered 17 points until, they kind of got into a, prevent defense a little bit too. So there's a lot of things that they gotta think about with this game, if I'm being honest. I mean,
the Chiefs are coming out of this game with Juju Smith-Schuster 3 catches for 10 yards, MVS 2 catches for 13 yards. Justin Watson was their leading receiver with only 50 yards. They got nothing going through the air. Travis Kelce had 51 yards on 7 targets.
And Maddie, let me jump in here real quick too, because they averaged 2.3 yards per carry outside of that 152-yard run by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So it wasn't like the run offense was particularly strong. I know there's some good moments there, but by and large, 2.3 yards per carry outside of that 52-yard run.
The offense didn't have anything going for it. I think one of the biggest things, we talked about the offensive line, but I think there was misunderstanding of how to use, I guess, these wide receivers, these weapons against this Chargers defense. Whether that's great coverage, we won't find out till we get a chance to go back and watch. But getting your MVS with 7 targets and only 2 catches is not a great look. Juju Smith-Schuster only getting 3 targets, and they're all right at the line of scrimmage. Not necessarily a great look. It seemed like there was a little bit of confusion on how to use some of these wide receivers, some of these bigger-bodied new guys. You look at the wide receivers that had success, Justin Watson on a vertical route, Mecole Hardman running some vertical routes, the stuff that's a little bit more tried and true for Mahomes and Andy Reid. It just seems like this was the growing pains everyone kind of expected. I think we all just let go of those expectations after we saw how it looked against the Cardinals, and it finally showed up this week.
Well, go, Craig. Sorry. Go,
no,
you go, buddy.
This is the adjustment that we expected. A little bit off communication there. Obviously, the Chargers defense is light years better than the Cardinals. Like, it's way, way, way better. So
it's unbelievably, it's like indiscernible. I can't believe that pass rush. The Chiefs. This is the first pass rush that they played.
Oh yeah,
because last week was just non-existent, and I think we learned a lot about the Cardinals tonight somehow.
And I mean, and they've got a lot of studs on that team. Like Derwin James was everywhere.
Oh my gosh,
he was absolutely everywhere. Asante Samuel had an excellent game as well. So there were blankets thrown on a lot of the Chiefs receivers, and it was frustrating Mahomes. The things that I didn't love about it is he was still trying to force it in there. I know we talk about how Mahomes doesn't like to throw 50-50 balls as much. We saw him attempting a few more of those this game, and they were in some bad spots. Like, he should have had a bunch of passes picked off today. Let's be real. He really should have had a bunch of them picked off. Got bailed out by some drops. Obviously made him pay on one drive with 2 dropped interceptions there. But it is just, it's rough to watch when the offense looks like that. But it's also one of those things that it is week 2 with this offense in the regular season. Now, it's good to get a win when your offense plays like that. You hope that they're able to play a little bit better, because that Chargers defense, once again, is going to be one of the better ones that they play all year.
That's a good point. Like, this was a massive test for a new offense, and I think maybe it was a little bit of fool's gold what we saw in Arizona. It was 7-on-7 in Arizona last week, and like I think we learned a little bit about that. I think, and Mahomes looked rattled. This was a phenomenal front, and they were bringing it, and he responded, and he made some big throws. He made some big throws when he needed to. Pretty up and down. We had one of those special Mahomes moments with the little sidearm throw to Jerick McKinnon, but I'm going to ask you guys, like, do you think the Chargers should have won this game, yes or no? I know I'm not trying to be a wet blanket. I'm just curious, like, in totality, do you think the Chargers should have won this football game, yes or no?
No. I thought that they played fine, but they chargered. Like, they set themselves up for this. They went tempo. Gerald Everett tries to tag himself out of the game. They go, no. We have to keep the tempo going. We have to, after several drives where the Chiefs have shut them down with 3 and outs and gotten the ball back in less than a minute to the offense when they were down. That was exactly what the Chiefs defense needed to be. Then you turn around and you have a play like that where you are going tempo, you're trying to force the issue. Yes, it works sometimes, but when you don't have that awareness, they made mistakes too. The Chiefs just happened to make them pay for it.
Maddie?
I think from how they played, from the perspective of if I'm going in there to look at the Chargers and how they executed on a plan and play out standpoint versus the Chiefs, I think they should have won. They should have won relatively easily, actually. I think it should have been a blowout in the first half, the way the two teams played. I think the Chargers let their foot up off the gas. They tried to rely on their defense a little too much, and their offense and some of their decisions didn't quite check it out. But at the end of the day, the reason the Chiefs won is their quarterback, their head coach, their coaching staff in general is ready to win difficult games right now. They're not going to charge her. The Chiefs aren't going to charge her right now. They made the hard decision. So like I said, from an individual player and play-by-play perspective, I think they should have won pretty easily. I just think the Chiefs are a better prepared and better coached team, and that's how come they're coming away with the victory right now.
I think Brandon Staley was a big factor in why the Chargers lost that game. I think Brandon Staley with his decisions, and I think that was a big factor early in that game. So.
Too aggressive.
And I think
not aggressive. Like, he doesn't know what he does. Figure out what you do.
But I think people love Herbert, and we should hopefully he's okay. And that was a super gutsy performance to come back in.
Yeah.
But let's not pretend like you can't go back to this game and not forget that Justin Herbert was pressing in the second half, and then he was missing stuff. Like, he wasn't
Big
playing
time.
as well in the second half as
The
he
Chiefs,
did.
and that
but-
was the Chiefs pass rush. Like, that's that's the
There was a lot there. When the Chiefs started pushing back, he didn't look as good as he did in the first half, and then it looked good again there against Prevents. Like, that's there. I just think there's going to be this forgetful section of the third and fourth quarter where people are going to pretend like that didn't exist, and he didn't play poorly during that stretch too, or at least below average, and that's what allowed the Chiefs to get back in the game. They're just going to remember those highlight throws that we've all seen 38 times already, which is fine. Every good quarterback gets that treatment, but like, I think between Herbert and Staley, I do think they left a lot of points that were available out there for them.
I mean, they went tempo from the 9-yard line when they were up 3. From the 9-yard line up 3 at 4:56 left in the third quarter, and they punted the ball at 4:47 after Justin Herbert took a sack on the 1-yard line, set the Chiefs up with a short field. Like, that was poor. The Chargers offense was very poor in that moment. And I know that we're going to listen again. Justin Herbert made some awesome throws this game, especially there at the end of the game, to kind of try and bring them back into it. But he was poor through a section of that game, and the Chiefs defense was really heating up.
All right, Craig, Maddie, before we let you go, you know what time it is. Grab your drink. It is time for Toast Game, our post-game toast to the MVP of the game for us here at KC Sports Network, and this is a pretty easy one. Jalen Watson, huge
Let's
shocker.
go.
7th-round pick with his return touchdown set the Chiefs up. And this Toast Game is brought to you by our friends at Holiday Distillery up in Weston, Missouri. You got a free weekend, Chiefs fans. Friday, Saturday night, you want to go up to the distillery. It is a beautiful place to hang out. It is a great time. Grab some Ben Holiday bottle and bonded bourbon while you are at it. But for right now, if you are at home, grab your drink, raise your drink, and give a toast to Jalen Watson. Step up. That is a hell of a moment for a rookie in his first game at Arrowhead Stadium to get that kind of return in that game against that opponent. Cheers.
Cheers for Watts Island.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Watson.
I'm also going to throw an honorable mention cheers to Matt Amendola coming in
Ooh.
here.
There we go.
Yes.
I like that too.
That's solid.
Absolutely.
That's a solid.
Absolutely. That's a great performance by him. That was nails, that last field goal.
He earned his Super Bowl ring tonight. Congratulations.
This is true.
That's what BJ said. You know what? I'm gonna do another cheers. Let's do another one.
Everybody gets one.
Let's do it.
Holy cow.
To Brett Veach
Yeah.
for
Yes.
selecting Jalen Watson in the 7th round. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. To Clyde Edwards-Helaire for running 30 yards with 2 hands on the football to ensure that there was absolutely no chance of a fumble.
That might need to be in the show.
Cheers.
Beach.
Nope, we got another one. We're just going to keep doing this. This is the thing.
Tucker, you got one?
I do have a stat that I would like to share, though, about Patrick
Yeah, let's
Mahomes.
hear the stat.
To Patrick
Cheers
Mahomes.
the stats of Patrick Mahomes.
Cheers to Patrick Mahomes.
It's going to get weird soon.
First, I'd like to share this quote from Chiefs safety Justin Reed. We felt like we were the more conditioned team tonight.
Yeah.
That is from Justin Reed. This stat is also very interesting. Patrick Mahomes faced a heavy blitz rate for the second straight game. The Chargers blitzed Mahomes on 13 of 36 dropbacks. That's 36%. After blitzing him at 25% or lower rate in both matchups last season. Mahomes versus the blitz tonight, 8 for 13, 103 yards and a touchdown.
To Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Listen, just keep blitzing him, please. Just keep
And
blitzing him.
we haven't cheered yet, but also shout out to Chiefs Kingdom. That was at Arrowhead Stadium tonight. They made a difference. They made their presence felt in the moments in crunch time. Remember, we were sitting here watching during the second screen watch party, and like, this is going to be a moment that Chiefs Kingdom, that place is going to be absolutely rocking. James Palmer told us off the top of the show the bits and pieces that we could catch from him, saying that he felt like from being there that it felt like a playoff atmosphere, the way that the crowd was into it and the way that the guys rallied in the fourth quarter with the Jalen Watson interception return for a touchdown.
Chief in Atlanta wants to toast to Craig Stout.
Craig is great.
Craig's great.
Cheers to Craig.
Hey, hit the like, hit the subscribe button, please, if you are listening to the show. Make sure you're checking out everything going on in KC Sports Network. I'll be on 21 Questions, I believe, tomorrow. So we've got all kinds of great content that goes out throughout the week. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps us as we're growing this channel. Craig, Maddie, I can't wait to talk to you guys more on Monday on the KC Laboratory. Thanks, you guys. We'll catch you later.
Later, guys.
All right. Yep, you can catch those guys Mondays and Thursdays going forward at 8 p.m. Central, I believe, going live on all of the KC Sports Network platforms. We're going to wrap up this show and answer any questions that you guys might have that are watching this show live. But as Ken said, a lot of good content coming up. I'm going to be chatting with Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus tomorrow morning for KCS an update to get his thoughts on this. We'll have our 10 Things podcast. That'll be an interesting one. I know Chris Jones and moving into 5th place all time. I did not know that. That's really good for Chris moving into the top 5 in Chiefs history in career sacks. That's big time for him. And then obviously 21 questions. We'll have content on the podcast channel and on our YouTube channel throughout the weekend as the Chiefs obviously going to have 10 days now before they take on the Indianapolis Colts next in Indy 10 days from now. And that's going to be a completely different game for Indy. And not to dunk on people, but they played Houston and they got Jacksonville. So you went from Davis Mills to Trevor Lawrence to Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a little bit of a jump for them, but it'll be fun to sit back and hopefully some of these guys can take care of themselves. Guys like Trey Smith, who gutted it out, know that his ankle probably didn't feel great playing in this game, but give him a little bit more time. Harrison Butker, Trent McDuffie, who's going to be out a little bit, it seems like.
Yeah, he's on IR.
He's going to be out for a little bit. Hopefully he gets back and healthy. But
I think Mahomes needs a rest.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes needs a little bit of a rest too, honestly.
This game's going to take a lot out of those guys. Travis Kelce took some shots from Derwin James in this game. All those guys. This was a physical football game with those guys getting after, as we see Andy Reid up on the podium right now. We'll have all kinds of content after that, but Tucker's got something for us.
Yeah, head coach Andy Reid said that Mike Dana sprained his calf. He was ruled out. Justin Watson has a shoulder. McCole Hardman has an ankle. Both of those guys did come back into the game. So everyone except for Dana came back into the game there.
I honestly believe Andy Reid says things like that on purpose. Sprain?
You can
calf.
sprain a calf?
You strained your calf.
Calf strain.
I've heard him say that when I worked there, and I would say exactly what coach said, and then like David Chow would get on a quote tweet. He was like, "This is not right. Like, this is bad information. You should be better at this." And I was like, "I'm saying what coach said. I am not going to misinterpret what's going on out here." But another thing going on, the league is full this week, but moving forward, we have got our own daily fantasy league each week at DraftKings at KCSN. You can find it in the YouTube descriptions. On our YouTube videos, you can find links to that, but normally 50 entries, $5. Draft your team. It's got scoreboard throughout the season. Tucker's in first place currently. If you didn't know that, he talks about it all the time. But we appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're going to answer a few questions from the subscribers here on the live show, but appreciate everybody else for tuning into this. Again, we will have plenty of content for you on Friday and throughout the weekend here at KC Sports Network, but appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight to this show. All right, now, Tucker, let's bring on some questions or some comments. If you were still hanging around with us, can't get enough of it. If you want us to do some more toasts, let us know. We've got some drinks to finish.
Overall team grade for this game, B minus, C plus. I'm kind of back and forth. I think the defense, if I'm grading the defense across, I think it's a B plus probably for the defense with their response. Offense brings the grade down a little bit. I don't know. It's C plus B minus range for me.
For me, it brings down a lot, and I'm probably going to be more critical of the offense and Patrick Mahomes in this game than probably a lot of other people because they ended up winning. But I think you guys were talking about it earlier. I think Patrick Mahomes got away with a lot of bad decisions in this game on some passes that he threw under pressure, under duress, getting rid of it, and should have been intercepted. Very easily could have been intercepted. One to Asante Samuel that got overruled. Ended up being a huge play in this game, but there were a couple right after that. It felt like he threw late across the middle to nobody in particular. Yeah, and I just feel like it says something about the defense and about what everybody else did when they, basically stepped up for 15 in this moment. You need games like that. There are going to be times during the season for championship teams that you can't always count on Mahomes. He is human. He's going to have some games where he doesn't play his absolute best, and that's what we saw tonight. They were still able to come through and win it, and that's what good football teams do. I'm a little bit curious on the why with Mahomes. Just that's one of the things I'm going to be fascinated, maybe watching a little bit this week, is just the why behind some of the decision making, and if it's disconnection with the new guys, if it was just the pressure and the really, 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 really good pass rush. Yep. Could be a lot of those things. I'm kind of fascinated. That clock gets sped up early in the game with different things that are going on. Who knows what it affects and what they're looking for, and all that stuff. Only the Chiefs can figure that out. But they're not going to face a lot of teams that have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack and Derwin James Can't be that trifecta of those three guys. So we'll take a couple more questions before we wrap up this show. Again, appreciate everybody for hanging out and for spending some time with us. All right, Daniel Mathagani. Clyde seemed to have the hot hand, but it looked like we moved off him for a while.
I think he got
Thoughts? The Pacheek's third one non-convert was tough.
I think he got hurt. It looked like he got his knee stepped on and he missed a little bit of time there, came back in. Running game did really kind of suffer without. So I went back. I was watching the Cardinals game a couple nights ago, and like there were some things that Clyde Edwards-Helaire really did that kind of stood out to me as far as like, okay, he's setting a blocker up here, kind of peeking before he's bouncing outside, and some stuff like that kind of separates him from, Isaiah Pacheco and from Jerick McKinnon. I think he's played really well so far this season. I know he's not the most explosive guy. He's not gonna finish runs like the one that you saw. Some guys might be able to finish that run. He's not going to be that guy. But I think he did a really, really solid job. More involvement in the passing game. They missed him when he was not in there in that one series. Oh, Toast to Nick Bolton. Yeah. Shout out Pat Mahomey, Toast to Nick Bolton. Did some really good stuff. There was a couple really nice plays, I think, right at the line of scrimmage or right at the line of the game that he kind of came in, cleaned them up, and kind of closed it out. He was, some of the guys that the Chiefs have making some of these tackles, they're not able to halt, kind of stop that at that line of scrimmage. They're, really able to base up and tackle. And I think he's one of those guys that really does a good job at the line to gain. He knows where it's at, and he's going to make sure that no one gets there and forces some of those fourth downs, those third downs. So, absolutely, Nick Bolton.
I'm cheersing to this because, Josh, I agree with you. I was exhausted before this game started.
Cheers to that for sure.
Tucker reluctantly cheers on that one.
I got a good one for you guys here.
Okay.
Corey Peter, who is your favorite Jay Watson on the team?
Shout out Corey Peter.
Watson.
Shout out Corey Peter, by the way. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, Jalen Watson. Kidding me? I'm sorry. Jalen Watson. Yeah, Jalen Watson.
Pretty good.
Thank you. I've done that a few times in my life.
I can tell.
Yeah, but it wasn't about Jalen. It was different Watsons. I'm trying to think the last Watson I did that for. Yeah. Next question.
What else you got, Tuck?
Yes. Pat Mahomey asked, "Is tonight's Chiefs beat the Colts?" Yeah, the Chiefs are beating the Colts in 10 days.
Who are the Colts edge rushers?
Exactly.
I believe Darius Leonard's still out. We'll still be out for this game.
I don't think so.
No, think so?
Justin Houston is not there anymore. Kamoko Toure, not there. Okay.
Kamoko Toure is not there anymore. Kwity Paye is there. DeForest Buckner's good, but they haven't had a lot of pass rush production.
Buckner was there.
They're just they don't.
Chris Ballard teams are going to have some guys up front.
Yeah.
They haven't done a great job affecting the passing. So it's good. It's a plus for the Chiefs, among other things.
And you got Matt Ryan. That'll be interesting to see. It's still kind of weird.
They just tied the Texans.
Maybe a good football team. You don't know.
See how they do against the Jags. The Fighting Doug Petersons.
Dougie Fresh. Should the body slam have been a penalty?
No.
No? Next.
Oh, jeez.
If it wasn't Travis Kelce, I don't think anybody would say anything. It was because it was Travis Kelce.
Joey Bosa sucks.
If our guys do that, I would be really upset if it was a penalty. Now, don't ask me why people disagree on the Joey Bosa going at Patrick Mahomes' knees and legs, that's not a penalty, because that's not I'm not saying it's a dirty play, but I'm saying by the rule, you jump at a quarterback's knees like that, or you land or go at the quarterback's legs like that, it should be an automatic flag.
Yeah. Throw that question back up, Tug. That's a good one.
I got you.
Stephen M. Gray, why no Sky or Jody this game?
They went to Jody in the end zone, and it almost got a pick six. Almost had a Jalen Watson from Asante Samuel, but Asante Samuel is no Jalen Watson.
Jody Fortson's primarily going to be used in those red zone situations. He's not going to be the guy that's blocking as consistently as like a Noah Gray or a Travis Kelce. Sky Moore, Justin Watson got in before Sky Moore did on offense.
That's true, and that is interesting. That is something that we should unpack at some point. We got 10 days.
We do have 10 days.
Some of this stuff, but
maybe this
also
is
shout out Noah Gray. I felt like one of the high leverage, when it felt like our backs were against the wall and Patrick Mahomes stepped up and made a really good throw. I could have swore it was Kelce when he landed, because I was like, that's a bigger wide receiver.
Yeah,
I was like,
I know
that's
you're talking
Travis Kelce. And it was Noah Gray. I was like, oh, damn, they went to Noah Gray in that moment. Like, that was a high pressure situation. And Noah Gray made a play.
I think he's earned a little bit of trust, honestly, with that.
On that play, you earned a damn lot of trust, because
I think period.
that was when things were not going great. for the Chiefs offense.
He was willing to throw a couple passes to him. I was like, oh, okay, you're going to throw no gray in that situation? All right, go off, King. Is Jalen Watson taking Fenton's job when Trent McDuffie comes back? That's from Raspberry Pi. I would be stunned. And I think this team is relatively slow to make moves like that, a la Juan Thornhill playing incredible for like 13 weeks and not starting. So I think this team slow plays with rookies, and I'm not going to argue. I like the idea of Jalen Watson, but I feel like they're just going to continue to play Rashad Fenton. They trust Rashad Fenton. I'll add one layer to this. Kind of felt like maybe Spags didn't want to dial too much up, wanted to try to play a little bit of basic, was trying to help some of these young guys. Well, he trusts Rashad Fenton to do what's being asked a lot more than Jalen Watson at this time, I'm sure. And that's just the nature of it. There's familiarity, comfortability, confidence, and that takes time, and they haven't had a ton of time together yet.
Yeah, Rashad Fenton's been here long enough. He's bought his time to go out there and play. And, yeah, he got beat on a couple plays, but that's what Mike Williams does. That's why he gets $20 million guaranteed per year.
Dog.
I think I might be higher on Mike Williams, and I have been for like the last year and a half, than maybe anybody else around. I really do think he's one of the top receivers that does not get enough credit.
Stephen Woody asks, this is a good question for you, BG, because I think you had a great thought. Can we talk about Andy's choice to kick a field goal instead of going for it on fourth down?
Yeah, my thought at the time was I would have kicked the field. I'd love to be aggressive, especially when you're on the half-yard line. But knowing at that time it was early in the fourth quarter, it's the first play of the fourth quarter, you're down 3. You're not going great offensively in general. You could tell they're kind of out of sync. That I don't want to put a more high-leverage, high-pressure kick on a brand-new kicker to have to kick a 45-yarder to tie it because you went for it and didn't get it. Yeah. And then you give more momentum back to Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense at that time. You kind of settle things and reset everything for the entire game. Just go tie the game and then turn it into a 15-minute long football game.
Nice.
I wouldn't want to put more pressure on my kicker at that point or on special teams or the decision-making because you don't want to be in a position to have to kick a 45-yard field goal to tie it with somebody that has been on the team for less than 96 hours.
Yeah, I think that was a really, really good thought by you when we were doing the live watch party, which, hey, if you didn't do that, you should check out our live watch party next time we do it. We had a lot of fun. But, yeah, just keeping the high-leverage kick out of, as far away from having to make it as you possibly can, I think that was a good idea.
Wrap this one up.
Yeah, let's do this one and get out of here.
All right.
Corey Kellner, what will this team work on the most during the mini bye?
Taking care of their bodies.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a game that everybody's going to get beat up. I do not envy the Chargers having to get on a plane and fly 3 hours to the West Coast right now.
After losing.
Yeah. And, again, physical, everybody put everything on the line. Justin Herbert sitting on a plane upright. That
was a rock fight, man.
I got a lot of respect for Justin Herbert after the game. I don't like the decision at all, unless we find out it was like bruised ribs or something. Is there anything on social, Tucker, about what the injury to Justin Herbert? I might be out to lunch here, and everybody can completely disagree with me. Maybe he's going to endear himself to his teammates, and he did. I don't think any one of his teammates is not going to watch that game and watch those highlights, especially that throw that he made, down the chute.
Daniel Popper, I believe he's for The Athletic, covering the Chargers. He said Brandon Staley said Justin Herbert is okay and doesn't expect his injury to be an issue going forward. Says he's dealing with something in his abdomen, possibly ribs.
So he's got bruised ribs. He's a rib contusion.
Yes.
So just something that was going to be very painful, although the Chargers' history of misdiagnosing, and didn't they puncture a lung trying to give somebody
Tyrod Taylor, yeah, I saw
something bad.
I saw somebody tweeted, I don't blame Justin Herbert not wanting to get it punctured, getting an injection from that staff. So
yeah. So either way, still don't love it, but endeared himself to his teammates, and I've got a lot of respect for Justin Herbert. Already thought he was going to be one of the top players, but showed some toughness. Came out, and I thought he played well enough to win. Made one mistake that. Who was it that made the play?
Jalen Watson. Yeah.
It's a good way to end it. We appreciate everybody for tuning in to this post-game show and to our second screen watch party. Before we end this, please hit that like and subscribe button. We got plenty of content. We'll have 3 or 4 Chief shows tomorrow to wrap this up and get a chance to dissect this game a little bit more and what it means for the Chiefs at the end of the day. What?
I gotta kill it. Just go.
Ken's done.
I'm just, yeah.
End of the day, the Chiefs are 2-0, headed to take on Indianapolis, 1-0 in the division, trying to win their 7th straight division title. Big time.
Good start.
It's a big time game. We're going to talk about what is going on in your head as soon as this show ends. Ken.
Please end it mercifully. Thanks for everybody for watching. This has been fun.
Bye, guys.